Welcome back to an all new edition of the His and Her Money Show with America's #1 money couple. I'm Talent.
And I'm Ty, and we're from hisandhermoney.com, where we're managing money, marriage, and everything in between.
We're excited to have you guys here with us again for another amazing episode of the show because we have a fantastic debt-free story in store for you. We're going to be talking with a young lady by the name of Anna, and she paid off a boatload of debt to the tune of $80,000. And it was such an eye-opening experience for her that it allowed her to launch a career, a business of her own. She's able to live her dreams because of the financial choices that she decided to make.
So let's take a listen to her story so we can also live our dreams.
Hey, Anna, welcome to the His and Her Money Show.
Hey, Anna.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here. This is great.
We're excited to have you. You have an incredible story of paying off a bunch of debt. And we know our audience can't wait to hear all the details and learn from your journey as they begin or continue on their own journeys to financial freedom. But before we get into the details of your story, can you just take a moment and introduce yourself to our audience and let them know what you're all about?
Definitely. So my name's Anna Runyon. I'm the founder and CEO of ClassyCareerGirl.com, and we're one of Forbes' most influential career sites. We help women ditch their dead-end jobs and find careers they love and start businesses they love as well. So it's kind of my whole passion. We've been doing this for about 6 years. And actually, like you guys, my husband joined me to run our company 2 years ago. So we are a husband and wife team juggling life and a business. And we also have a 2-year-old daughter, too. So it's crazy, but it's a lot of fun, too.
Love that.
Awesome.
So we're going to talk more about that, a little later on in this show. But before you started this whole thing, Career Girl and things like that, you had a lot of debt, right? So can you tell our audience a little bit about the debt? What did it consist of? How much was it in total?
Yeah, so we definitely added it all up, and we didn't want to. This was not a good day when we added all those numbers up. But it was $80,000, and it was mostly student loans. That we also had some furniture debt. We moved in, we bought a bunch of furniture on a credit. We also bought 2 brand new cars when we got married. We were kind of in this we had to keep up with everyone else. We felt this need to have new cars, and we both had these nice jobs. And so, adding that all up, that's what it added up to is don't buy 2 brand new cars at the same time. And then having to look at that number later, and just adding it all up. And that's kind of like the moment. I'm sure you're going to ask me next about the moment that I was like, okay, enough.
That is next.
That is next because I'm listening to you tell the story, and it's the American dream. You get married, you get a place, you get 2 shiny cars. Everybody's got student loans. Well, we got this new place. We got to put nice furniture in it. So let's take out a credit. They got 0% over 12 months.
Right.
My husband, he said that exact same thing. I'm like, what? Why did we do that? While I'm sitting on the couch. No, I'm just kidding.
It's what most people do, but something happened. Something made you all say,
let's count up
this
how much debt
this isn't going to work.
Right.
So talk to us about what made your eyes open. What was the light bulb moment or moments that led you all to even consider launching out on a journey to debt freedom in the first place?
Yeah, so for me, it was really inspired by my passion of wanting to do something else for work because I was completely stuck in my job, and I hated my job. I needed to get out, but the problem was we were so attached to my paycheck. We needed it. There's no way I could quit. There's no way I could go part-time. I needed that paycheck just to survive and to pay off all our bills that we had. So I think it was just this realization of coming home every single day, hating life, hating my work, hating what I was doing, dreading Monday morning, and realizing there's no way out of this with this debt. There's nothing else that I can do with this debt holding me down. It was pressure. And I'm glad you guys are talking about marriage too, because we fought about money. It was not a very happy time in our marriage because we both felt this weight. It was just this extra weight, around the house on our shoulders. And what are we going to do? And, he wasn't happy in his job either. So it was just kind of this moment and it was more me because I was like in the whole blog world. I was blogging, I was reading other people's blogs. I wish I remember the article that told me about Dave Ramsey's The Total Money Makeover and like the baby steps, because that was really, I found that article and I was like, this seems doable. This seems manageable. It seems small, like not the big books. I was in finance. Like I'm a finance girl. Like I know the numbers, I know all that stuff, but it just seemed not doable. Like I needed something that was just a little simpler, and that kind of broke it down for me. Just very simply, okay, here are the steps that you need to do. And then I talked to John, and we got on the same page and kind of made that commitment together to do something about it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Talk about that because we have right now. You were just speaking a lot of people, hearts contentment, wanting to leave their jobs, and because they have passions and they have entrepreneurship goals and different things like that, but they can't because they have to go to work.
And I think that's the story behind the story, right? Because on the outside looking in, it probably looked like you and your husband had this perfect life being built, and there's so many people tuned in right now. They have good paying jobs, right? But they also have all these big payments that they have to keep up with. And they also are going to good paying jobs that they don't particularly like. And they're feeling stuck like you felt.
True.
So let's speak to that a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of like the pivotal moment of this is not, it pushed us to do something. And so I'm glad about that because it actually forced me to like do something about it. But I think exploring what could be, I think, really thinking about like my vision and like where I wanted to be. And I started to see where I wanted to be with John. And like at the time too, we were having some trouble trying to have children too. I had an early miscarriage. And so it was like everything just started compounding. And that forced us to really see like, okay, if we want our lives where we really envision them and this future family that we want to have, like it doesn't involve all this extra weight. So it was kind of like this time where we could come together and really do something together. And I think that's the biggest part of all this as well. Like it actually like brought us closer because we were combined on the same goal and we had to talk about things and like, high five each other and like really get excited about completing, like knocking down like getting one of those payments done so we didn't have to worry about it. And I think that was like the biggest thing is like we really did it together. And obviously, the future we are now doing the business together, but I think it all started there. Like it, we could never have this business right now if we were still had that debt. Like it's just impossible. Like we couldn't have. And I think where we are right now as well, and I'm sure we're going to get to that too. I'm probably jumping ahead a little bit. But to have the business that we wanted, we couldn't have all these extra bills. So getting rid of all those extra bills, now we live like, just very cheaply. Like we don't take huge trips, we still rent, like we're doing all this to be able to invest back into our business. And that I think is one of the biggest reasons that our business has been able to grow as well, is because we don't have a ton of extra bills that are in the expenses. So we can afford to reinvest in our business and watch it grow and like work together. And so but it all started back that day that we talked about where we made that commitment together.
Love that. So talk about how long did it take you guys to pay off this debt, and what were some of the things that you guys did? I heard you say that now you're still renting. What were some of the strategies or some of the techniques or tips or tools that you can share with our audience to let them know what you guys did to pay off over $80,000?
Yeah, so it took us about 2 years. Like it definitely took a long time. And so those
$1,000 in 2 years is crazy.
Amazing.
Everything went to that. Like I was just writing, I wrote your questions beforehand. Like my husband, we would eat like dollar meals at like fast food restaurants. Like we did not do like, it's kind of funny to think back about because we had this like budget and I was very, like I said, I knew finance, I knew this stuff. And so when you had me do a budget, I tracked that like down to a penny. Like I was tracking every single amount of money that was coming in and every amount that was going out. And so we were using mint.com. And so we were tracking everything that would go in and out. For groceries, every week I had to stick under $50. So there was a grocery app. I forget the name of it. I can let you guys know afterward.
Please do, and we'll put it in the show notes.
I would add up what all my groceries were while I was there and then make sure it would be under 50. And actually now I use Amazon Prime and they actually deliver. And I do the same thing, but they deliver the groceries. But I know what my budget is. And so I know, adding up everything, I know I can't go over a certain amount. So that's something that has always helped. We had my roommate came in and lived with us, actually. My old roommate from college, we decided to extend an offer to her to have her live with us so she could help us, by paying rent too. So that was something like, that was crazy. Like people thought, what is going on? You're a husband and wife and now the college roommate is moving in. So, but we were focused. Like we had this goal, like it was like gonna happen. And that helped out a lot. Like she paid rent, so we could chunk a lot more into the payment plans. And we sold things. So we were like selling stuff on half.com, on ebay.com, just doing Craigslist, doing whatever we could with stuff that was just like in our apartment, but stuff we didn't really need anymore. So it really like forced us to look, okay, what could we make, with this if we sold it? I don't know how much that actually like added to the bottom line, but I do think freeing up all that space in our lives and in our closets and like it just like made more space. And obviously we had to make space for a roommate to move in. And so I think that was just like freeing actually to get rid of all that stuff, even though we may have made some money, but it was more just like shedding this like extra weight and like moving forward. It's like spring cleaning, right? When you feel like you're doing that. I was doing coupons. It was just like anything we could to save money and to not spend a lot of money too. So I have a whole blog post about it too. If you guys want to share that as well.
We'll definitely have a link to that blog post in our show notes. When you guys get done listening to this, just head over to hisandhermoney.com and look for Anna's interview and you'll find the link there. I'm curious, Anna, what was the toughest part of this journey? I mean, $80,000 in 2 years that means that you guys had laser focus. What was the toughest part about that 2-year journey?
What's interesting is once we made the commitment, it actually didn't seem as tough. Like it was finally we were on the same page and we had a goal and we had a vision of where our life was headed. The toughest part was before when we were just not on the same page. We were both like very unhappy and didn't have like that direction of like what we were supposed to do and trying to figure out, like we tried to budget and we tried to like save, but we didn't have that big picture goal of like, okay, this is all just going to be gone. It's a mindset shift because a lot of people I think do think, well, what's wrong with student loans? We're always going to have student loans. And so I think once we finally realized like without all of our debts, then maybe I could eventually go part-time at my job. I could eventually quit my job. And that was kind of like the whole plan. It was kind of like my escape route from corporate, which is funny because now one of my programs is called Corporate Rescue Plan. But it really was. It was like, if we can just get rid of this debt that's just weighing us down, then I can actually choose a career that I want to and spend more time doing that and kind of like carve out. It was like my freedom plan. When, Dave Ramsey yells freedom, like it really was like my freedom from this corporate world that was just like holding me back.
Yeah. Now, I know that there are a lot of people tuned in right now who are currently sitting where you once were, meaning that they are not on the same page with their spouse right now when it comes to their finances. Talk us through like some tips or some strategies. What did you guys do to go from not being on the same page, being frustrated, being stressed out, arguing about money, to attacking your debt together as a unified front? How did you go from there to there?
Yeah, I think, communication is key. And so I think coming together, and that's why I love just the baby steps too, because he didn't see that. Like I came across this book, I read this book and I saw this blog post but I could communicate the steps to him and it made sense. And I think that was huge because it just seemed like this huge, like surmountable, like mountain to get past. but like breaking it down into these little baby steps. Okay, like right now we just need $1,000 emergency fund. Like we didn't even have that. And so that seemed like doable and we could do that. And like, just talking through just that first thing, not like long, like step 6, right? It was just like focusing on that one thing. And then we got that one win, in a couple months, and we could like be proud of like accomplishing that one little win. So I think that's really important, is just like breaking it down, having like just really, really small goals. And then if one of you could be kind of like the budget person, I think that's important too, to both come together. Those were hard conversations, sitting down on the couch that we had purchased with our credit, right? Like going through, like I had the Excel spreadsheet up, but I needed him because you both had to be on the same page to figure out how much you're going to spend on groceries and how much you're going to spend on eating out. Like he ate out a lot more than I did because I would bring my lunch to work. And so those were the hardest days, I think, just sitting down with the budget. But once we got through it, once we could just, it's like putting it on your calendar, and at that time we didn't have kids. So I can imagine, like even now, like it's a lot harder when you have the kids, but when they go to sleep, it's like carving out that time, that hour where you can just sit down, maybe have a glass of wine, like make it fun, to kind of like make it so it's not such of a bad thing, but coming together on that budget. And we would do that at the start of every month. Like that was just kind of like our routine, is to have that budget meeting where we could sit down and talk about the next month. And then it was a goal that we were both reaching together. And my husband is not a goal person. So this was like kind of like far from him. He did not want to do this. But I think once he saw, like once 1 month went by and we saw that we came in under what we budgeted, we had extra money and we could pay off some of the bills, or we could add to that $1,000 emergency fund. It was like, it started to become more of a game, more like fun, and more of like an accomplishment that we're doing together. And I think our marriage got a little bit better then too. So I think he could kind of see like, okay, this is a positive thing for us and for our marriage and where we're headed for the future. So it just kind of kept going like that.
Awesome. Now you kind of mentioned earlier about how you all had to change your perception, your view, your thoughts, because you guys did, like we talked about earlier, the typical things: student loans, cars, furniture. So how did you all make the change in your mind? Because like you said, you all had to come on the same page. You all had to start thinking differently in order to even get started with the journey. How did you guys change the way that you thought and viewed money in order to attack this goal?
Yeah, I think we had to change our view of debt. I think that was not something you just live with. I don't know. I think there's just a lot of my friends had debt. They had very large mortgages. They've had student loans. Some of my friends have said they're just always going to have the student loans. Even after seeing us do this, it's like, what's wrong with student loans? They're just a small fee every month, And so I think that's just kind of the people we were around at that time, and everyone was buying nicer things, And so I think it was more of a decision to stop trying to keep up with everyone else. I think that was like the biggest thing for us, is like, we live in San Diego, and so it's expensive here. Real estate is expensive here. And so once we finally became okay with like, okay, we're not going to get that house, okay, we're not going to like have that nice view of the ocean like they do. And like, it's just kind of being happy with what you have, and being more like, for me, it was like, I'll be happier if I'm in a career I love. I don't need, all of the things around me. And so that was more of the mindset journey of just being okay with us together. And, future wise, we wanted a family. And so I think we were just focused on our long term, and where that could take us. And so just the mindset, you don't have to try and keep up with everyone. There's plenty of people that, are just focusing on being happy and living lives that, aren't super extravagant, but they're happy. And that's what I can like 100% tell you right now. Like, we are happy. We don't have a bunch of things in a huge house or anything like that, but we work from home and we're like happy. We are making a difference and making an impact in other women's lives, and it's just fun. So there's some trade-offs, there's definitely trade-offs, but that's totally okay with us. I'd rather be happy. We live in an apartment. My daughter, she doesn't get to go outside and run around in the yard, but that's okay. We're building this business, and that's more important than having the big, nice, fancy yard and everything right now.
So very, very important. That's why a lot of people are in debt and they stay in debt because they're not content with what they have. And the truth of the matter is we all have been given so much, majority of us, I can say, of course, there's some people who definitely hit some hard times and things like that. But for the most part, I mean, we have so much excess sitting around us that we don't even get to use everything, or consume everything. So, I mean, we're throwing food away, like who does that? We buy food to eat, but it sits in the refrigerator. We go out to eat at a restaurant and then the food in the refrigerator rots and we have to throw it out. Like, it's just, no, we need to be content with what we have and what we have been given. So I love that. So walk us through that moment when you guys paid off that last debt payment.
Yeah, I remember I think we had champagne or something. It was some still cheap, like low cost drink or whatever. But I remember we took a picture of it, and I still have that picture. And but it was exciting, but we still had more to go, I think. So there was still that vision that we wanted. Like, we still needed to get to a place where I could go part-time and, still work on my dreams too. So it's super exciting, but for some reason it doesn't like totally stand out in my life, because the time where I could like go part-time, where I quit and where John quit, like those are the times I think that like really stand out for me, because that's kind of like that was where we wanted to be. We wanted to work together. Yeah.
Yeah, talk about those moments. I think that's so very important because Talon and I, that's something that we preach to our audience a lot, that a lot of times, like we said in the beginning, you have this debt, so therefore you have to go work at a job that you don't want to work at. So talk about that moment. You all were able to leave your jobs because now you put yourself in a position where you could do so. So talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, it came after maternity leave. So I ended up not going back after maternity leave. And so that was kind of, we had hoped for so long to have a daughter, or have a daughter or son, to have a baby. And so for me, it was just so very fulfilling that, I could spend time with her, I could grow my business. And obviously it wasn't super easy, but we figured it out. And I think that, just everything happens for a reason, and like all the steps like kind of came up to that moment where I at 6 weeks, like I was part-time at that point, so I had gone I was like fully full-time, and then I went part-time for a year and a half, still building the business on the side, so that when I did go on maternity leave, I knew I wasn't coming back, but I knew so I was only going to have about 6 weeks of maternity leave, because I was part-time at that time. But that was the greatest feeling of just knowing like I didn't have to go back to a job that I didn't like anymore. And I had worked so hard. I'd worked like my butt off even before I knew I was going to have her, but I had worked for that moment, so it was like all coming together at that moment. And then just a few months after that, when we realized like we weren't going to be able to figure out childcare, and John was still stuck in his job too. So that's when we kind of realized, okay, so now John's going to take the leap. Like, so it wasn't as scary when I took the leap, but when John actually took the leap, that's when everyone was like, you guys are crazy. But that was like the most exciting part as well, because then we could actually do this together. And that was the huge leap. I mean, there's definitely a scary part when both of you quit and come together and grow this business. But because we had that emergency fund, we had a very long, time where we didn't need to actually earn a paycheck from our business. So we had that cushion that we had worked so hard for. So yeah, it all came together at that point. So we knew we could make the leap, even though everyone thought we were crazy.
So was it that you all, after you all went through this incredible journey of paying off a bunch of debt, did you all begin to now stack up? Did you all exceed the Dave Ramsey recommendations as far as your emergency fund, because you all knew that you all were plotting and building, and so you all just stacked and stacked and stacked, and then you all were able to be in a better position than somebody who still has student loan debt and stuff, things of that nature? Was that the course of action?
Yeah, so we had, and we still do have this like very large emergency fund that we try. John's very good about it now. It's like it's locked, like we can't touch it, and he's great at it. He's great at like our whole like financial situation now. So yeah, because we didn't have all those debts that we had to pay down, we started putting it to our like for the future fund, and so that we could. At the time, we thought it was just going to be me that was going to quit my job. We didn't really ever expect that John was going to be quitting to join me too. So that just kind of like just worked out perfectly. And our strengths are like so different that it complements each other very well. So he does kind of all the operations, behind the scenes, marketing stuff. And obviously I'm like the content person, the one doing the interviews on camera, doing the social media and all that stuff. So it works, but we just never would have known it if we didn't go through this journey.
Your story is from start to finish is amazing.
Yeah.
The fact that you all were able to pay off this debt, and now you're building your dream. And it reminds me of a quote. But you're building it though. And it reminds me of a quote from a speaker named Tony Gaskins, and he says that if you don't build your dreams, somebody else is going to hire you to build theirs. Yeah. And so what you guys are doing is you all made the sacrifice up front. So now that you all have done that, now you can start to build and build and build upon your own dreams and make something for yourself. Now, what if there's somebody listening right now who is all ears? You got their attention. They're like, wow, that is incredible. But they still hesitate just a little bit when they look in the mirror, because they feel like maybe their situation is insurmountable, or they don't have the ability to do what you did. What are some words of encouragement that you can give to that person?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always saying baby steps. I'm always saying imperfect action. Like, it's not going to be perfect, and taking that first step is so important. I wrote a blog about all the ways that we paid off our debt. I'm so glad I blogged about it, because I think that's how you guys found me too. And so many people have read that one blog post I wrote. And underneath the comments, there's a ton of comments, and it's amazing for me to read them, because a lot of them say, I could never do this. Well, you had this. I could never do this. You did this. I don't have that benefit. And yeah, there's so many like excuses that you can tell each other and tell yourself, but they just drive me crazy, because I had that too. Like, I had a lot of debt and I had everything going against me. And so I don't think that it's really important to monitor what you're telling yourself and what you're saying. Like, if you keep saying, I can't, well, you're not going to be able to. And so I think that's the flip in your head, is just saying, I can do this, and keep surrounding yourself with those podcasts and inspiration that's going to tell you you can do it. I think I listen to Dave Ramsey's show all the time then, because it inspired me. Like, I can do this. Look at the people that are doing it. If they can do it, I can do it. And so I think that's the mindset, is you can do it, and sticking to that.
Love that. So do you have any book recommendations that you can recommend to our audience? It can be around the area of finance or career, or, just any helpful book that has helped you during your journey.
Yeah. So obviously The Total Money Makeover. I really liked 48 Days to the Work You Love by Dan Miller. That's a really good one. Oh gosh, there's so many other ones, but I think those two, for the one for the career and then one for finance, are the two most important, I would say.
Awesome. So, Anna, can you let everybody know more details about your website, classycareergirl.com, and about all the great resources that you have there?
Yeah, so we have a ton of articles at classycareergirl.com. And if you want, so we have a free 90-day planner that you can use. And I was thinking that might be perfect for this to plan out your next 90 days of your goals too. And you can access that at www.classycareergirl.com/free plan. And we're all over social media and Instagram and Facebook, and we'd love for you guys to come check out all of our daily articles.
Awesome. And we'll be sure to have a link to that in the show notes. Just head over to hisandhermoney.com and click the link, and you'll be able to get your free 90-day planner. Honor that interview that you gave, the details, the insight, we know fired everybody up, and they are incredibly ready and determined to follow in your footsteps to debt freedom. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come on the show today.
Thank you.
Yeah, this was fun. I love what you guys are doing, so keep it up.
Wow. Didn't you guys love that? Aren't you inspired to know that, man, you probably have a passion on the inside of you that you feel you have to constantly put on hold because you have to keep up with Sallie Mae payments. You have to keep up with Bank of America payments. Well, you know what? You can do something about it. You can change your financial situation, and you can get yourself in position to start to live the life of your dreams, just like Anna did.
That's right. So if you guys are ready, we are ready to help you. We have a ton of information over at our website, as well as our podcast. All you have to do is just go to hisandhermoney.com to stay updated.
And guys, we created a resource that will help you become debt-free. It's called the 8 Essential Steps to Getting Out of Debt, and it's totally free. You can pick up your copy by simply going to hisandhermoney.com/8 steps. That's the number 8, hisandhermoney.com/8 steps. Well, guys, that's all for this week. It's been great. Until next time. Peace.
Bye.